For this project, we are using black glue. So this is regular glue with India ink mixed into it. Whenever it dries and it's finished, it will have a rough and bumpy texture to it that we will use to add watercolor on top of. So with your table that you want to protect with newspaper or paper or something, you're going to add lines of color in. This may take some help because it's hard to squeeze it. We don't want to cover the entire surface with this, but that India ink will not wash out of clothes, so be super careful with it. But you can make some lines like this. We do need to have our name on our paper first. Then when we're finished with this, we will leave it on our table to dry a little bit before we hang it up, because I don't want this glue to run off of here or it will be very difficult to clean off of things. So that is the first step. When you finish the glue, we are hanging them up on our boards up here. So everyone will need to take their ice cream scoops down and keep them at their table. So we have two processes going on. Take your papers to your table so that you have space to be able to put your glue up on the board to dry, making sure your name is on it. So we will hang these up like this for Tuesday. On Wednesday, we will come back and pull these off of the board. Everyone will have two that they are making, and we will add color to them on Wednesday. All right, now let's pretend like it's Wednesday. Pulling this off of the board, taking it to my table, and we will set up our watercolor stations. Over on this black cart, we have pre-made warm colors, the reds, oranges, and yellows, and pre-made cool colors, greens, violets, and blues. You'll carefully pull these out. They are pre-mixed watercolor washes. So put each at a table to set it out, then we'll disperse. So pulling these out, put it on a table. Let's have, I don't know how we're going to disperse this, honestly. We will have some warm colors at a table, some cool colors at a table. Actually, let's just do this. Let's have alternating tables. So warm colors at one table, reds, oranges, yellow. At another table, have our cool colors, blues, violets, and greens, and they're labeled with the letter on top, which is hard to see on this, but you'll be able to see it whenever you're looking at it. And then after your table finishes with one color, you can trade colors with another group, because we don't have enough for every table to have one of each of these. So I have my warm colors. I will also need the droppers, the eyedroppers. So we will have these at each table too. You will need one dropper per color. So red, orange, and yellow each has a color. Blue, violet, and green has their own color, and try not to mix these back and forth between them. So each table will have either a warm color set or a cool color set, and then once you finish one of your papers, then you can trade with another table and take turns using the color. So I'll show what that looks like. Okay, so I have one of my papers that's dry from Tuesday. This is Wednesday now. One of my papers for my warm colors, one of my papers for my cool colors. You'll take the lids off of each of these. Then I'm using my eyedropper. You can kind of mix this up. It has water and watercolor wash in it. You can fill it up a little bit. It doesn't have to be completely full. And then we are just dropping colors all around the paper. We are trying our best not to totally saturate our paper. That means soak it, because this paper will not hold as much water and color because it's not as thick but it's enough that we can add drops here and there, and it should hold it pretty well. So we've got color that we're adding, warm colors on one paper, drop your other colors in, little drops all over the place. We can blend the colors together or keep them separate. We can also take a cup of water and we can drop just plain water in it to let it blur around. So I'll show what that looks like. So another option is taking a little bit of water and dropping that on the paper and letting the watercolor move around wherever the water will take it. You could also do with this with a paintbrush and kind of let the color blend in different areas too. You could try to keep it in one of the sections. You can let it run over some of the black glue lines that you have. You can also take your paper and pick it up and move it around a little bit and let the colors run off of the paper or go in different motions and let it splatter. We can also take a little bit of salt, not a lot, Josh, you're the salt guy, just a little tiny amount of salt that we can sprinkle on the paper, and what that does is it absorbs some of the color or some of the water out and leaves the color behind. So you can also go back then, and if you want to add more specific locations of color, you can do that too and just see where it runs. So you can even start with the water first and then you can add the color in. Let's see what that looks like. So if I take just water and I put it in an area like this and let it run around, and then if I want to add just a drop of color to it, you can do that and let it kind of run anywhere it wants. So that's with the warm color. You will do the same thing with the cool color. Let's just keep the colors separated though, so that it doesn't all turn into browns. With this, it's a little bit messy. It runs all over the place. It's okay if it drips when we hang it up, or if you want to take a paper towel and try to dry it off a little bit first, you could do that too. But I'm okay if it drips all over the floor. Ideally, we don't have any other paper underneath it, like I just got all over this. Maybe this isn't a good idea, guys. Maybe we need to take a paper towel and dry it a little bit so it doesn't look like we've got blood dripping down our wall. I have my three cool colors, blue, violet, and green. On this one, I'm going to try adding drops of water first. So you could do either method. And you can keep them in defined areas, or you can let them be more sporadic. Then dots of color inside of those areas and in random spots as well. So there's blue, here's violet. You may have to mix this up if it's settled. And green. Actually, let's add a little bit more water into this whole area and then see what happens when we drop some color inside of that. So again, if you want to take a paintbrush and move this around, you can. If you want to take the paper and roll it around, you can. And bump it a little bit. If you want to take a paper towel and dry some of the color out, you can do that. You can take a plain eyedropper, you can pick it up and move it around into other areas. You can do the sprinkling salt. You can pick some of it up with paper towel. So you guys can just kind of experiment with the process. If you do hang it up immediately, all the color will drip off like it did on this one, so then you may have to dry it some from down below. So we may need to let it dry a little bit at our tables first, or you can try to put them somewhere in the room to dry too if you want to keep it flat. I do have that card over there that may work to put everything on, and I'll clean that off. So this is the goal for Wednesday, and we will also be cutting out these ice cream scoops and putting those on large pieces of paper, which I'll set out, and we can add brown or other colors of ice cream cones from our colors here. I think I'll just cut some brown and have that available to make the ice cream cones.